This is the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. Starring Nick, TJ, and The Rook. Our shows are for the average sports fan who likes drinking, talking sports, and talking shit. We cover all sports from the MLB to the NHL and everything in between, as well as review movies and discuss pop culture.
Dude, he wouldn't be in the NFL if he couldn't play at this level. All right? You get this. Good day. I can't believe you just said that. It was the stupidest thing I've heard you say in weeks. All right?
Say he can never play at this level?
That was
I
the
never
best thing I've ever heard.
You're ruining the magic.
That's a really interesting point.
We all know shady underground places that give massages and happy endings. And does it not seem out of the realm of possibility?
You?
It's an embarrassment. I think fans are tired. Because it's a clown show organization. Guess what, Joe? It is
Still a man's sport. This is still hockey. Step the fuck up. He's looking. I don't know why, but he looked at me. I'm looking at you. I see him looking at me. He goes. He's trying to eat it real low key.
Join us on BellyUp.tv on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. for our movie reviews and on Saturdays at 7 p.m. for our standard sports talk show.
Oh, yeah.
My bad.
That's so Matt's doing the control board right now, and that's normally our advertisement that we have going. I just like hearing this music, so I'm gonna play it anyway.
Salute.
Now the show could start.
It's Wednesday, it's 9:09, and it's time to party. With us, it's me, Nick, the Scoreboard Addicts podcast, and this week I've got some special guests. I'm without TJ and Anthony this evening for a very, very good reason. TJ's on vacation. Have fun, TJ.
Shocker.
And Anthony is welcoming a new addition to his family. Welcome to the world, Olivia. So congratulations to Anthony and Brandy. I hope you guys, I hope Brandy, you're feeling better. Way to go, champ. Olivia, welcome to the world. Very exciting stuff. And with me, I've got Matt from the Wrestling Addicts show. And from Third Period Bourbon, I've got Dave from Third Period Bourbon drinking that summer shandy. Letting us know what time of year it is.
Yes, sir.
But I'm excited about tonight's show. I love having Dave on the show because it reminds me of hockey season, and I love hockey season. Mm-hmm. It's right around the corner. I'm looking forward to it. I love having Matt on the show. Matt, we've been watching WWE Biography lately.
Yes, we have.
And I watched Edges today, and I got to say it was pretty damn good. And
I need to watch it.
His wife looks like she could take a punch, man. I tell you.
Oh, Beth Phoenix, she could definitely take a punch.
No, I'm just
take
mean,
one
like,
and throw one.
Not wrestling. I mean, like she's got a really square jaw.
Bro,
like if I had to describe her face type, it would be trapezoid.
That's probably pretty.
She's a beautiful woman. Don't get me wrong, but her face is like this. Like,
oh, you
looks like home plate.
You love the glamazon.
I do. Her face, but her head is structured like home plate.
Yeah, it is. That is true. You love the Amazons, though. You love the Amazons.
I do. I like a woman that can carry me home after I'm too drunk to walk myself.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Isn't that what
she
we all
just
want?
Like scoop me up. Come with me, little one. You're death by snoo. I'm all about it.
I love it. I love it.
But speaking of home plate, Subway Series was the last 2 days. Now I'm going to be honest with you. It's lost its flavor. It really has. We talked about it a few weeks ago. I'll talk about it with you guys. And Dave, you're a Mets fan, right?
Absolutely.
Sorry. But I feel like when I was a kid, you know what it is? It's the nostalgia of interleague play not being a thing. Like for those of you who are younger who don't realize this, when I was a kid, there was no interleague play. The only chance the Yankees had for playing the Mets in the regular season or any part during a game that mattered was if they had met in the World Series. And up until 2000, that had never happened. Like the Mets had been to 4 World Series in their existence between 1962 and 1999. and they had won 2 of them, but they never come across the Yankees. It wasn't like back in the day when the Dodgers and the Giants met the Yankees in the World Series pretty regularly. And of course, the Giants and the Dodgers were in the same league, so they played each other all the time. But when we were kids, up until about 1995, the Yankees never played the Mets ever. They played a lot of exhibition games because they always had the Mayor's Cup or whatever it was called, which is the Subway Series championship trophy. But that was an exhibition. It didn't count. It was just something they did either during the All-Star break or before the season started. So I got to be honest, especially now, like, I guess it was the same back then, but like, how can we really declare a winner if they split 4 games? Like, if they play an even amount of games, how do you declare who won? Your thoughts, guys?
I'll let Dave go ahead. I want you could start it off.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty upset when they split the series because, I mean, growing up a Mets fan, it's always a good feel because you grow up around Yankee fans, and a lot of people around the, like, just across the nation with MLB fans, they don't understand that it's not a team rivalry, it's a fan rivalry, and it always will be. And growing up around Yankee fans, you know, they're always saying, you know what Mets stands for, my entire team sucks, and stuff like that. They're always gonna pick on you, and so it always feels good. Anyway, and, you know, splitting the series was kind of disappointing because the Mets came out really hot in that first series and they looked really good. And this series, you know, they slowed down a little bit, and it was honestly, those 2 games were kind of weird to me. It was just a lot of weird stuff happening. And I get what you're saying, where it's lost its flavor because you got all these young kids who are growing up with social media and everything, and they're getting all their news from that. And back in the day, it was just like you went to school with Mets and Yankees fans, and you saw how much kids cared about sports just through watching SportsCenter, watching SNY, watching Yes Network, and stuff like that. And the whole 2-game series, I don't really agree with that to begin with, especially just because it doesn't give each team, I think, a good enough chance to actually win that series, whether it's interleague or not. But I don't know. It was a kind of a weird Subway Series this year, but I actually would enjoy another Subway Series World Series. I think it would be a little bit different than 2000. Not declaring a winner, but I think this Mets team has what it takes to go deep into the playoffs and into the World Series.
Not if Scherzer pitches like he did on Tuesday.
Yeah, that was awful.
Or Monday. That
was awful because, I mean, that's the difference too. Is like DeGrom has a bad game and he gives up 2 runs, and then Scherzer just starts. He has a bad game. It was his worst game of the year, and it was the only noticeable one that you can really.
Your team should be able to score 5 runs.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt.
4 runs from anybody on your pitching staff. 4 runs for a game. You should be able to win that game. If you're a good team.
Yeah, and there's no doubt in my mind that I can't see any other team, and I'm saying this as a Mets fan, in the MLB that's worse at leaving runners on base than the Mets.
Oh, the Yankees.
Yeah, the Yankees would be number 1.
We just did it for you.
It's heartbreaking because it almost like it takes that. Because let's be real, we're all hockey fans here. Hockey's the most exciting sport any man could watch.
That's not true. You have to watch Legends Football League.
I just got into hockey because, you know, they were doing the podcast,
right.
And I would always watch
us,
hockey.
Dave. That's what it was. He was watching us and seeing how hype we were getting and how hype fans were getting, like watching our post game.
Right.
We were getting some hype Ranger fans, and he was like, "Wow, what is it all about?" He was like that episode of The Fresh Prince when they go to Vegas and they're talking to Wayne Newton, and they're just like, they're having all the fun. And he was like, "I got to get on this, man."
Yeah, and it's I enjoy it. I agree. It's high speed. There's action happening all the time. You constantly have to pay attention to where baseball, it's like, oh, you could like walk away for a little bit, not really focus on the game.
That's the great part. There's time to drink.
No, there's a lot of time to drink.
You can actually go get a beer during a baseball game.
You could. You know what? That is true. And I think for me, the Subway Series when I was younger, you know, it was always in the summer. It was in July, usually end of July, or usually around my birthday. So I would always be excited because it never happened. Interleague very rarely happened, and if it did, it was a big deal. So like with that 3-game set at Shea and then 3-game set at Yankee Stadium for me was super exciting. You know, you watched, you paid attention, because then, you know, there was no Twitter or Facebook to brag or talk shit. You did it in school, you know, that Monday.
Exactly.
And, you know, you would rag on your friends if they were Met fans, you know, and the Met fans would rag on the Yankee fans. But now it's 2 days. And not even that it's a 2-game set in each stadium. It's in the middle of the week. It's on like a Tuesday or like a Wednesday. I get it. You know, it's like
Let's
it's
thank
like
God
the
it wasn't on
WWE.
TV.
Exactly. You know, and it's like no matter when they play, people will go and see them and they'll be sellouts. So why waste it on the weekend when you could do it during the week? And that's where baseball just becomes business, and it's not a game. It's not for the fans, it's for the owners and all that other shit.
With that being said, I think that was part of the reason that it was better when we were kids, because George Steinbrenner was a complete ass about it. And that kind of added that little element. Like Steve Cohen, he's a little bit braggadocious, a little bit, you know, but he's not as bad as Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner's bad, or he was bad, as opposed to his son that doesn't really give a shit about baseball. He only cares about dividends and profit margins and shit like that. And like, I'll never forget George Steinbrenner walking into Shea Stadium, looking at the visitors' clubhouse and going, "This furniture sucks ass," and bringing all of the Yankees furniture over from Yankee Stadium, and then somebody from the Mets going in and flooding their clubhouse on purpose because they were insulted that Steinbrenner didn't like their furniture. Like that's legit. Like that's not even like the players don't like each other. That's like management is like, "Yo, fuck your team over there." Like that's big. Like you knew, like George Steinbrenner, when the Yankees played the Mets, George Steinbrenner was like Uday Hussein, that if his soccer team lost, he would murder them. Like that was George Steinbrenner with the Yankees. Losing to the Mets was like a hell-worthy trespass. If you lost to the Mets, you were going to lose your job that day. And the players played harder knowing that was a thing.
And the thing
now it's like, oh, we just played the Mets, so what? We're concentrated on the playoffs. They don't give a shit about playing the Mets. They don't care who they're playing.
And the thing is only New Yorkers understand that rivalry. That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Right.
You know what? Honestly, I feel like all the rivalries are kind of dead. Like even when the Yankees play Boston, I don't feel like I used to feel like when I was a kid there would be a fight at any moment.
I mean, my dad.
And you could probably be the same for the Phillies.
My dad tells me stories about him going to Yankees Red Sox games like in the early '80s, late '70s, and he said it was just a free for all, and it was just it was all out mayhem. And
no, but I just feel like but I'm not talking about with fans. I'm talking about with players. I feel like there's nobody on this Yankee or Red Sox team that would try to throw a punch simply because they feel like they could be playing for the other team at any moment.
No, I don't think there's a lot of baseball players like that left to begin with.
I mean, there are. What's his name is constantly trying to fight people. The pitcher from the what's his name? The struggle. He's a Amir Garrett. Amir Garrett's trying to fight somebody regularly, and so is what's his name?
Amir Garrett just got suspended for flipping off fans, I think.
Did he really?
3-game suspension.
Again?
It got reduced to 2. But that guy he's fiery. He's angry. You need that.
He's like that.
Same thing with the shortstop from the White Sox.
Oh.
I forget his name right now. Don't say it.
It's like that guy.
God damn it. I said don't say it.
He's like that guy. Remember that the guy that was playing for Boston and he flipped off the crowd?
I don't remember who flipped off the crowd.
It was hockey. He was playing for the Bruins.
I thought you were talking about in baseball.
I'm like, Papelbon?
He was a Bruin and he skated by the crowd and flipped them all off.
I don't recall that. But
that was a
why
great.
can't I have his face in my head? I just can't recall his name right now. It's driving me crazy. Tim Anderson. Wow.
Tim Anderson.
There you go. Like Tim Anderson, same deal. Just like always starting a fight with somebody. Actually, you know what? Josh Donaldson, another douchebag playing baseball. But again, back in the day, the players didn't get into fights because they were dickheads. They got into fights because it was fire and passion and they cared. Yeah. Guys like Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson and Amir Garrett, they're dickheads. So they get into fights because they're assholes and everybody hates them. Like even I hate Josh Donaldson. Can't stand him.
I'm wearing a fucking Keith Hernandez jersey right now. You want to talk about fights? You instantly think of the '86 Mets. Oh my
That's
god,
not fair. Keith was high. You can't hold somebody
Hey,
accountable for
that's
doing
when
high.
that's when baseball was badass.
That's right.
That's
When everybody was on steroids and coke.
Exactly.
Bring it back.
Lenny
Bring it
Dykstra,
back.
bring it back.
Between the WWE and the MLB, it was fucking wild in America back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even bring the NFL into play with that too, with LT.
That's true. And what's his name? Bill Romanowski.
Yeah. Yep.
But it was an interesting series. I think this year, I mean, they split. Both teams played well. With close games. But again, I never felt the fire. Hey, Dad. My dad throwing up the. My dad's recovering from COVID, so he's doing well.
Good.
But
That's good to hear. Get well
Good to
better.
hear. I just
Get
had
well
it
better.
too.
Get well soon. Speaking of high.
yeah, right. So you know the you got it, Rook.
We got you, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
So yeah, one thing I did want to discuss. It's been going around a lot. It's been Gleyber Torres's quote unquote baffling play. I'm going to share this so that everybody can see what the hell I'm talking about, and I'm going to stop it at key moments so that everybody knows exactly what I'm getting at when I. So basically, everybody wants to sit here and say that it's all Gleyber's fault. And while I do agree, he shares as much culpability with what happened as anybody else on the team. It's also a lot of other guys on the team's fault. And I'll show you what I'm talking about if I can get the link going. So, Matt, if you would share that window.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you very much. All right. And what we're going to look at here is I'm going to stop it at key moments, right? The ball's hit in the gap, okay? That's Gleyber Torres. Can you see my cursor?
I can,
Yeah.
yes.
That's Gleyber Torres right there. I'm doing a little illustration. So for those of you listening on radio, Gleyber Torres is playing a far pull toward right field about 4 steps into the outfield. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he's playing to the left of second base, where the shortstop normally would with a lefty batting. The ball's hit into the gap, okay? As somebody who played baseball my entire life, and I've played center field, second base, and catcher, the catcher is the person that calls out the play. The reason being is he can see the entire field of play to include the runners. If you look, the second baseman and the shortstop have no eyes on this runner here and Pete Alonso, who's in this area, somewhere beyond that area. So they have no idea where the runners are. So the catcher can see everybody, and generally he's not in the play because the ball is being hit to the outfield. So he can call the play on the field, right? Kind of like a safety or a middle linebacker calling a play. You don't let your defensive tackle call the play. You have your guys behind him, usually a linebacker or a safety, make that call, okay? So the catcher, the ball's in the air. He sees that it's not going to be fielded cleanly. It's going to bounce. It's going to be a hit. He should know what the play is just based off where the runners are, right? So we keep going, right? The ball's hit to the wall, right? This is probably 380 something feet. Just so everybody's tracking, second base is 127 feet away from home plate. If this is 385, then second base is about 160 feet away from this wall. Maybe 170 feet from this wall, right? If my math is right. Maybe a little bit more. So Judge fields it. He's a strong throwing fielder, right? Alonso falls. The second baseman, Torres, and the shortstop, IKF, cannot see Alonso fall. Why? Their backs are to him because they're fielding the ball. So, stupid question. 1, why is IKF here? The ball's hit to right field, right? The second baseman is cut off to second base. So the play is to second base because it's a double. It hit the wall. It's a double, right? Like, very simply, it's a double. The ball hit the wall. It's a double. So who should be covering second base if the second baseman's the cutoff?
Probably the shortstop.
The shortstop. So what the hell is he doing here?
He's looking for his batting average because he's been absolutely fucking terrible, IKF.
All right. So furthermore, if there is a play at the plate, who should be calling for it?
Oh, the catcher.
I didn't hear anybody say 4. I didn't hear anybody like when I played catcher. They used to do drills like this all the time in school. the catcher lines up the cutoff person. If you're going to do a play at the plate, first of all, the first baseman is the cutoff for a play at the plate. Because the ball got hit to the wall, right? There is no play at the plate. The guy fell down, then you're directing traffic at that point. All right? Nobody's communicating, right? The shortstop's out of position, and they basically left, right? Because you got to figure where was Alonso when that ball was hit?
He was I think second.
Let's see.
Or
he's at first, right?
No, he's at first. He's at first.
Wow.
So if the ball gets hit to the gap when Glaber fields it, where is he going with the ball immediately? It's presumed immediately that Alonso's at third base. When he turns around and he sees the guy rounding second, the play's at second base as far as he doesn't realize that Alonso's not moving. He doesn't know that Alonso fell. He doesn't know any of that. And they basically leave Glaber out to dry. Granted, Glaber is completely wrong for how he fields that ball, right? He is, 100%. He's wrong. But at the same time, where are his teammates helping him? Like, I think everybody in all of Yankee fandom realizes that Glaber Torres is not a plus fielder. So the catcher leaves him out to dry by not calling the play as the ball lands, because he should be. The shortstop, I don't know what he's doing on that side of the bag. He has no business on the right side of that base. Like, no business at all. Like, the first baseman is the backup on that play. The shortstop covers second base. I saw somebody on Facebook go, why wasn't Rizzo covering second base? I said, why would Rizzo cover second base? They go, for the double cut. I said, in what world in Major League Baseball do you double cut to second base? I was like, center field at Yankee Stadium is, let me think, 201 feet away from second base. I'm fairly certain Aaron Judge can throw 201 feet by himself on the fly. Yeah. Like, why would you need three fielders to throw the ball 300 feet at most?
You don't.
Especially
with Judge's arm, you don't need three people.
There's a profound misunderstanding about how to field that play. Like, people don't understand in baseball, as in many sports, the play is called before the play actually happens. Like, before the ball gets pitched in your brain, you're supposed to be going, what do I do if the ball gets hit to me?
Yeah.
Like, I've played center field. If the ball's in front of me, this is what I'm doing. If the ball's behind me, this is what I'm doing. The second baseman and the shortstop think the exact same thing. The play's already written before you even get there. It's just that everybody else did the wrong thing and Glaber had no reaction to it. He was probably sitting there going, what the fuck is IKF doing behind me?
Yeah, right.
So don't get me wrong. I absolutely love, like, as a Mets fan, when Gary Cohn and the SNY announcers get on the Yankees about something. Don't get me wrong. I love it because I'm a homer. That's why everyone here loves Sam Rosen.
Nothing wrong being a homer.
Yeah, exactly. But the way they reacted to that play and getting on Glaber Torres about a so-called, because they kept saying, like, what a mistake. The first thing I thought was that he was completely left out to dry. No one else was in position either. No one. So
as soon as Alonso fell, I would have been screaming 4, or 3. The play, nobody should be saying 2. Like,
and then when they did the aerial view, everyone looked confused. They didn't know what to do. And the only one who tried to make the play was Torres.
He was the only with the ball, and he couldn't give it to anybody else because nobody else was paying attention.
No one had any idea what was going on. So the fact that they're putting it all on Glaber Torres is absolutely ridiculous. Because did he field it? Not in the best way, absolutely. But he tried to fix his mistake, and no one else tried to help him fix the mistake.
I feel like he fielded it bad because no one else knew what was happening. Like, if you have people even pointing at 4, maybe he didn't see. Obviously, his back was toward Alonso. He didn't see that he fell. So, like, it's so hard to in the moment, even as an athlete, probably to react that way, to make the right play, especially when there's no help. And then, like, Nick, you've played baseball your entire life, so you understand that Glaber didn't do the right thing, but it wasn't solely on him. When you scroll on Twitter and you see all these I call them Yankee fans because they're not baseball fans. Like, I'm a Yankees fan who knows baseball. These people are just Yankee fans. And, like, Glaber's not the best shortstop. he's also not the best second baseman, but he's good at second base. He's valuable to us, I believe. And just to get on him as soon as that happened, to me, it's like, at one point in time, Glaber wasn't an everyday player, and he led second baseman in home runs. So, like, he has the bat, and he could field the right way. He's a good fielder, I think. But just like the negativity that always comes on to him, I think is ridiculous. And this wasn't his fault. And they won the game. So I guess no harm, no foul, really. But, you can't do that in the playoffs. If I'm Boone, I'm getting the whole infield in for drills to figure out how this happened, to avoid it next time, because it's inexcusable how it happened, but it's understandable.
Absolutely. It's funny. You talk about practice, right? The flip play, which is a very famous play in Yankee lore, they said they practiced that. They said they practiced that.
It sure as hell didn't look like it.
I don't know.
And you know what? If they did practice it, everybody was in the right spot.
Yeah.
Pure muscle memory. If they practiced that, which I highly doubt they did, when they practiced it, they probably did it like twice on a joke, because somebody was making fun of somebody for not being able to make the throw home, and Jeter was messing with them. And he's like, "Oh, I'll help you. Don't worry about it." I don't believe anybody ever actually. That's ridiculous. Why would you ever do that? But that's the whole point of practice. And the problem is they get to the show and nobody does infield outfield anymore. Like, they find it to be embarrassing if they have to do infield outfield.
Yeah.
But in that instance, Judge throws it to his cutoff man, the second baseman. The shortstop's not in position. The catcher's not lining up his cutoff, because really on a play to the plate, the first baseman is the cutoff. You don't throw home from the outfield wall. You don't. You throw to second base, and then when you get to second base, he goes, "Oh shit," and makes the play at the plate. That's what you do. Yeah. But you don't throw home from the outfield wall. You just don't. There's only like 3 people that can pull that off. Roberto Clemente, he's dead, so he ain't doing it. Ichiro Suzuki and
Vlad.
Vlad. That's it. Those 3 guys. Vlad.
Nowadays, I think Harris could, on the Braves. I think he could pull it off. He's got.
That's possible. It's possible.
He does have a cannon.
Even Judge can throw 90 miles an hour from the outfield wall too. But he still doesn't have that gun like Vlad. Vlad was amazing. Ichiro was incredible. Roberto Clemente, I've actually seen replays of Clemente throwing the ball from the warning track to home plate in the World Series and getting the runner. Like, I've seen wild shit like that. But point being is, all these Yankee fans hating on Glaber for that play, he's only the bad guy because he lost the game of hot potato. That's the only reason he's the bad guy. He got caught with the baseball because everybody else was sitting there with their dick in the hand, not doing anything. Because Higgy should have been screaming 4, 4, 4. Like, there should have never been a question mark in his brain as to where he was going with that ball before he received the ball. The problem is nobody told him what to do before he got the ball. And then by the time he got the ball, still everybody was looking at each other like, what do we do now? I still can't figure out what the hell IKF is doing over there. I really can't.
That's the bigger question. Now what Glaber was doing, what was IKF doing? Because he was out of position.
Completely. He abandoned the base. On that play, the shortstop's not the cutoff. He's not. On a play to second base, because the play was to second base. It was a surrendered double, like a give up double. Like, oh, hit the wall, that's a double. There are certain standards in baseball. If the ball hits the wall, it's a double. Like the average runner, it's not Vogelback running a fucking second base. Average speed runner, it's a double. That's it. So the place to second base. Why would IKF go anywhere else? It just doesn't make sense.
Nick, you know what's funny, and going off of what Matt was saying before about all these Yankee fans that I saw on Twitter that were hating on Glaber about that. If you click on any single one of their profiles, all of their locations are not New York.
You're probably right.
I just want to make that clear. Or nowhere remotely close to the tri-state area.
Bitter Cub fans that are mad that Glaber's not with them anymore. That's what it is.
Even the Yankee fans that are on there, they're the people that wear Yankee hats as a fashion statement. They're not watching every single game like everyone else, like us. We're looking. The one thing we're looking forward to when we come home from work is watching the game.
Yeah, but moving on from this, that stupid play. I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who's never played baseball before. Gleyber Torres got hung out to dry by the rest of his team, and while he did make a mistake, he did not make that mistake alone. Basically, he ran the wrong route because the quarterback didn't call a play.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing in hockey when you leave a guy out to dry on a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1, and then that guy gets blamed if he makes the wrong decision.
Now, yeah, you get caught on a breakaway 2-on-1, and the goalie's the one that looks like an asshole because he gave up a goal.
Yep, it's the
and the
exact
defenseman gets to walk away like, oh, I don't know, and the casual hockey fan will sit there and be like, oh, that fucking goalie sucks. When everybody that watches hockey is like, no, his defenseman fucking crapped out on him. He misplayed the fucking crease and fucking lost it between the circles.
If anyone ever says it about Igor, I'm losing my mind. If they ever bring up the first couple games of the Pittsburgh series again, because by the way, I know this is off topic. If any Pittsburgh fans are listening, and it happens to be one of the people that are still bitching about it on Twitter, you have a sad existence. I'm sorry. That series is long gone, buddy.
It's over.
And so is your whole franchise. You're running a retirement home.
But moving on from that play in the Subway Series, playoffs coming back soon. The Yankees got a couple of players coming back from the injured list. Today, Zach Britton started his rehab assignment down in Single A. Giancarlo Stanton should be joining the Yankees tomorrow out in Oakland. Can you explain? I didn't catch why DeGrom didn't make the start yesterday.
So what? Based on what I read, is they're so-called playing it safe with the pitching rotation. There was nothing said about him being in pain or anything like that. I honestly do believe that they are saving him for the playoffs because the Mets haven't had a clear spot in the playoffs in a long time. And I think this is the year that they finally say, like, okay, it's looking like no matter what, we're going to be in the playoffs, whether we win the division or not. And we will, you Braves fans, just letting you know. And so I think it's based on that. And I think they're going to give Scherzer more of the top guy role in the regular season. Because, okay. I mean, he obviously had that as soon as he came back before DeGrom did. There's no doubt about that. But I think they're finally like solidifying him as the top guy in the playoffs. And then once the playoffs comes, you're gonna see most likely, I'd say, if it's not a 1-2-3 rotation, it's a 1-2-3-4 rotation with including Bassett. Because I think Taijuan Walker should definitely start over Bassett. But yeah, I think it's just based on playoff preparation, to be completely honest.
Okay. Is there anybody coming back from the Mets that you're looking forward to? That's on the.
Well, I'm really missing Guillorme because he's one of the best defensive third basemen in the league.
He just went right. Well, you got Brady up though.
He went. We lost Cookie Carrasco. I haven't heard anything about when he's coming back. And I think he's going to be a key guy in the playoffs just because we do have that depth for starting pitchers. We don't have anything in the bullpen besides Diaz. I'm not impressed with any of our relief pitchers at all. And
Diaz is a stud. He nice bounce back year. I had him last year in fantasy, and he just wasn't himself. And this year, he's lights out.
Unbelievable.
It's insane. It's insane.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, because I know a lot of Mets fans that say like Mariano Rivera who, and I'm like, don't even do that. Come on, man. And it's you can't. He's having a good year. Don't get me wrong, but that would be like us Ranger fans, like with the season that Igor had, saying Marty Rodor who. Like you're putting disrespect on a legendary name that was consistent throughout his entire career as the best. And yeah, but when he steps on the mound, as a Met fan, you feel safe. You feel like
how did you like the Braves playing his closer music after that home run?
I'm too old to care about that. I can't believe there's grown adults that actually care about a song. I mean, that song absolutely, like, I play it in my car after the Mets win and I'm driving to work in the morning and I'm like, oh, let's go. And
as the kids say, it slaps.
Yeah, it slaps. Yeah.
It slaps. That's great.
But there's so many more like in the sports world, at least, there's so many more Karens that you see in these feeds and these threads on Twitter and Facebook, and it's just like, how do you have time to get mad at stuff like this?
Yeah,
It's
good point.
You know what? It's a little mind games too. Like I wouldn't take offense to it. You know, like if
I mean, they're doing it to get into fans' heads, and you're letting them do it.
What Brave? What was it? Was it Harris?
It was
No.
What's
It's a third baseman.
No, it's the catcher.
Oh, Ramos. No, Contreras.
Yes,
Is
Contreras.
It? Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Contreras.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the third baseman, Riley, Austin Riley, when he was just like, "Watch out, Mets, we're coming for you," and then they proceeded to lose like 5 games straight.
I mean, for a team that, you know, it like the way the I guess the swagger they're trying to like bring off to everybody. You know, it's not like you're like a dynasty team. You won one World Series and you haven't been in first place all year. The shit they're talking like with Strider saying all that shit too. I don't know if any of that was true because I didn't hear it from his mouth. And I know a lot of sports pages on Facebook like the gaslight everything. But new word I just learned recently, by the way. And it's just first of all, you're a rookie pitcher, so what are you talking that much shit for?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like arguing with that umpire when you're like a rookie batter. Like you need to earn your stripes before.
Yeah.
Nah, I
before you
disagree.
do stuff
Arguing with
like
the
that.
umpire, by all means, go right ahead. If he's wrong, he's wrong. That's it. Whether you're a veteran or you're a rookie, a strike is a strike is a strike is a strike. You don't get the benefit of doubt simply because you've been in the league long enough. As if being in the league long enough means that you know strikes, but a guy who has it, like, oh, you just got here, even though you've been playing baseball since you're 6 years old, you still haven't figured out what a strike is at this league.
I gotta agree with Nick because, I mean, you guys are probably gonna get sick of this, but I relate everything to hockey. It's just like all those bullshit calls that, like, first of all, the Capo Caco goal that was called off. That's like saying he doesn't have the right to argue with that call.
That's true.
Or the Gensel high stick. And
What's right is right.
And Igor doesn't have the right to argue with him because he's so young. So it's like a 50-50 with me because arguing with the ump is, I think, a little different than going on a mic and talking shit about a team that has been in first place over you the entire season.
Yeah, that's true. Especially you weren't a part of the championship team last year, right?
Exactly.
So like you really
you don't have a ring.
Really
you don't have a ring.
Anything.
You don't have a ring yet. So like
these Braves need to stop talking shit and learn how to sign better contracts, if you ask me, because I feel like a lot of these guys are getting housed by the Braves. And maybe if they just worry about, signing a good long-term deal rather than talking shit, they would be in first place and they would be making more money.
You know what's going to end up happening right now? First of all, those players are doing just fine. They're not putting up huge superstar numbers, and they're not going to put up superstar numbers. They're actually kind of smart for signing now because they're in their early 20s. Aaron Judge is going to be 30 years old, and he's still not getting a deal.
Right, but these guys are signing 7 years, $86 million deals.
That's more money they would make. That's more money
Right.
than they would make. They would make less than $10 million a year in arbitration. And they'll make the league minimum for the first 6 years of their career. That's it.
Look at Acuna though. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. I could probably look it up real quick, but Acuna's my opinion, a top player in baseball, and he's not like a Mike Trout or an Aaron Judge, but when healthy, I think he could do 30, 100, and he has a shit deal. He doesn't have a good deal. And I get, it's they are making more than the average person, but still it's more like, what do you do?
No, not the average.
Happened?
Not the average person. It's because of the way that the minor leagues, the rookie deals are set up. Major league teams don't have to hit free. They don't hit free agency for 6 seasons. They're getting the league minimum.
6 years. Wow.
For at least 4 years. And then they hit arbitration in year 5 and 6. And they still may only collect $10 million those years. So they're making I want to say the league minimum is $180,000 a year for the first 4 years of their career playing Major League Baseball, and they're putting up crazy numbers. And not crazy for like comparable to what Judge is doing or what Alonso is doing this year, but crazy for a 22-year-old to be doing.
I mean, think about what Alonso did his rookie year, and he was making the league minimum.
Yeah,
he had 53 home runs. 53
like,
home runs. That's like on that.
The league minimum is ridiculous.
Watching that was unbelievable.
That was, and I think Judge the year before set the rookie mark, and then Alonso shattered it. Like,
yeah, and then Alonso came in and hit 53. It was that was fun to watch, and I just recently became like a big baseball fan again, just because my life has always rolled around hockey, and sadly I'm a Giants fan, and I don't know why I still put time into that because it's an embarrassment.
Tell me about
the league minimum for baseball is $500,000. So they're collecting $500,000 a year to maintain 2 homes, be on the road for 8 months out of the year, while everybody else in their league is making the average of at least $4 million, and they're putting up big money. So honestly, these kids on the Braves, if they would have signed a 7-year deal and they're 20 years old, good for them. They're hitting their prime. Because the Yankees, what they're going to do is they're going to hold on to their guys till they're 24 so that they hit free agency when they're 20, when they're 30. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's what they did to Judge. And people will say, oh, no, he wasn't good enough to make it to the show. Says the Yankees.
Do you guys think Judge is staying with the Yankees?
No.
The predictions.
I don't think the Yankees are going to pay him. They're poverty.
I want to hear some predictions on where he might go because
he's going to go to San Fran.
Yeah, I agree.
That's kind of where I had my mindset too.
Which is nice because he'll have a nice homecoming next season when they play them in the opener because they release the schedule. And the Yankees open the season at home against the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. I mean, so either one way or another, Judge will be at opening day at Yankee Stadium next year.
Yep. But yeah, the Hal Steinbrenner is going to cry poverty. By the way, I dropped a stat talking about Hal Steinbrenner. I dropped a stat on Twitter the other day. Just so that Yankee fans who don't know can learn a little something. And a lot of people are going to say, well, if it was your money, you would do the same thing. On the contrary, I wouldn't because I'm competitive. So I want to win. I'm like George. Like if I'm a multi-billion, I'm a firm believer. Like when I see some of these contracts that these guys sign where it's like $300 million, I'm not that fancy of a person. I don't know what the hell I would do. $300 million is a lot of money. Like if I had $11 million, I could probably live comfortably for the rest of my life just fine. Like if I just had to pay taxes and that's it, like pay off my house, I just had to pay taxes, $11 million tax-free, I would live fine for the rest of my life. Have a car or two, you know, probably stay in the same house. Like, why do I have to move? Like my house has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Like why am I moving? You know, like
I would quit my job immediately.
I wouldn't even quit. See, that's stupid.
Immediately. No, I would quit. No, it's not. I didn't say I wouldn't work. I said I would quit my job.
No,
and then
that's
with $11 million, I could do something.
You don't do that. Do you really love your job right now?
No.
Okay. How sweet would it be for you to just sit there and go to work every day? And then the minute they know that the minute they tick you off, you're like, you know what? Fuck this place. I quit. Or I just bought the place.
Okay. All right. You know what? When you put it that way, all right.
Brother, there's nothing sweeter in life than having a job that you could quit at the drop of a dime and everybody in the room knows it. And they're all walking on eggshells around you because they're like, oh, listen, if he's the linchpin right now. He set us all up that if he leaves tomorrow, we're fucked.
I like that.
I mean, the one person here who probably knows what my salary is Nick, and I could do a lot with $11 million.
You know how many strippers and beer he could buy with $11 million?
And no strippers.
You know how many cars he could get with a 20% interest rate he could get with $11 million?
You know how much good bourbon I could get for $11 million?
There you go.
Shout out Third Period Bourbon. Follow me on Twitter.
But yeah, I don't think Judge. So here's my stat that I posted yesterday. The Yankees payroll in 2009, the last time they won the World Series, was $201 million. Adjusted for inflation, the richest / most valuable team in baseball would have a payroll of roughly $277 million if they maintain that payroll. Right now, it's about $250. All right. So that means they've actually saved money in payroll. So they're not competing at the same level that they were at 13 years ago. The team value in 2009 was 1.5 billion. It's now roughly 6 billion. We are getting robbed as fans, okay? The management is not reinvesting the money made back into the team. Hal Steinbrenner's putting it back in his pocket. We're getting robbed because everybody kept saying, like, oh, we got to keep payroll down. We got to keep any Yankee fan that sits here and talks about how the Yankees can't go over the freaking luxury tax. Are you high? Why not? I would love to know why. Like, I really want a valid explanation for why they can't go over the luxury tax threshold.
And why, as a fan, you give a shit about that?
It's not going to make the tickets or the beers any cheaper.
It's not. You
the
think
hats are still going to cost $40.
Yeah, listen. No matter who they sign, no matter how much they give Judge, you're still going to overpay for food and beer at the stadium. So the luxury tax should not even come out of your mouth. I want them to go over the luxury tax. Give Judge
I want them to go 1,000 times over the luxury tax.
Oh my God, because you're getting a championship out of it. You know you're going to get a championship out of it, and that's going to bring more money in. When you're having 3 rounds of playoffs in the city, the revenue alone from just the games, you're going to make money. Then there's merchandise, and there's all the other bullshit that you do. To me, it doesn't make sense. His stupid ass kids don't give a shit about the team. All they care is about their bottom dollar. And it's like what I was saying earlier. No matter what, people will go to a Yankee game. Almost all Yankee games are either sold out or close to being sold out, no matter what day, no matter what team they're playing.
Well, the thing is about that too is as a fan, why do you care about that when there's no salary cap in baseball and the Yankees are the richest team in the MLB? That's another thing I don't get.
It's not your money. I could see if you were concerned, like, oh, but our prices for tickets are going to go up, beers are going to go up, but hot dogs are like $7 at the stadium and beers are like $15.
Exactly. And
so where's that money going? And they're going, oh, but they have to, the cost of running the stadium. The cost of running the stadium has not increased to the point where it justifies the players' salaries going down, everybody else in the stadium making more money, and the owner's value going up. That doesn't make sense. How is it that 13 years ago, the player's salary was roughly, I think, 1/12 of the overall price of the franchise, right? Because the franchise was $1.2 billion. I'm just doing some quick math. It was $1.2 billion 13 years ago, and the players were making 201. So that's like roughly like 1/10, 1/11 of what the overall cost of the franchise was, the player's salary. Now the players are 250, and the franchise is $6 billion. It doesn't correlate.
No, it doesn't.
Even with the price of doing business, it does not correlate. Everything would go up together with inflation, right? Everything would increase together, right? There's an episode of The Office where Michael runs the Michael Scott Paper Company, where they talk about fixed growth variables as opposed to adjusted ones. And adjusted, right? The more business you have, the more cost increases, right? So like if I deliver to 15 people, then that means that I'm using X amount of gas. If I deliver to 20, I got to use more gas. So my costs more money. The Yankees aren't doing that. They're $6 billion worth of value. They're doing more business than ever. And the players are still getting paid less money than they would have been making 13 years ago. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that more money spent on your team guarantees a World Series. But I will say this. There was never, and I've said it before on the show, there was never a doubt in my mind whether or not George Steinbrenner had an interest in winning the World Series on his mind. And today, Joel Sherman from the Post asked Brian Cashman about that very thing with regard to the Yankees payroll and whether or not they're concerned about spending money. And basically Cashman said, I can't speak on that. He deflected. He was like, I can't speak on how much money we can spend.
Because it's whatever the luxury tax is, it's under that. That's what, and the fans don't want to hear that. Like the real fans that want to see the team. 13 years. Not only has it been 13 years since they won a World Series, it's been 13 years since they've been there. listen, I'm not trying to be like one of those Yankee fans, 27 rings. But like, what the fuck? As a fan, it infuriates me that every single year they're not doing what needs to be done. And every year there's at least one game-changing player available that they could get or that they could trade, or even if they trade for. They don't like to spend money, and they want to hold on to their prospects until they become worthless. Greg Bird. No one wanted to move Greg Bird. No one wanted to move all these pitchers that are hurt now.
Well, again, they're trying to hold on to these guys till they hit 25.
But they're not using these guys. That's the point. Like these guys in the minors.
They're trying to leave them in the minors until they hit 24 years old.
Who wants a 24-year-old rookie? Get him.
The Yankees do.
It's terrible.
No, the Yankees do, because if he's a 24-year-old rookie, he's not eligible for free agency till he's 31. That's what they did to Judge.
And now they're not. And now he's gonna walk. I feel it, and I'm gonna be very upset. You know, like it upset me what they did to A-Rod 6 years ago. You know, that whole bullshit. How they forced him to retire, how they disrespected him. You know, if it wasn't for that, man, you don't have a championship in 09. So when they did that to A-Rod, when he was 7 away from 700?
Yeah.
So like you disrespected him that way, regardless of what happened. As one of my favorite players, I was like, you know what? Fuck this team. I'm upset. You know, I'll get over it though, but whatever. But if they let Judge go, when it's all in their control. It's all in their control. Pay the guy. Pay him his money.
And the thing is Judge has he's the first guy, like as far as home run hitters, I've seen that could potentially put up Barry Bonds numbers for his career.
Nah, I don't think his career will be over by the time he's 38.
Maybe not like as far as like career home runs, but I'm talking about season wise.
Okay,
where he's
putting. I don't see him hitting 40.
He's on pace for
40 bases.
He's on pace for 63 home runs this year,
something like that.
Yeah, and if he walks, I guarantee. This is my prediction for his, because I base it off of, because I can't believe people are still saying Juan Soto is the best player in baseball. There's no doubt it's Aaron Judge. There is no doubt in my mind. Absolutely no doubt.
Soto's good. I like
He's
Soto.
Really good.
But
I'm not taking that away from him, but
I'm going Judge.
I'm going Judge every single day of the week.
Yep.
Because first of all, defensively, he's on. I mean, let's not even go defensively. Let's go physically. The dude is a freak. Did you see him when he was on first base in the first game of the Subway Series next to Alonso? And Alonso is huge.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
I'm pretty sure Alonso is 40 years old. Like, we always talk about Dominicans and Cubans lying on their birth certificate. Pete Alonso, looking at his hairline and his chest hair, that guy's got to be at least 38.
I mean, I think he is Italian. I know he's from Florida, but I think he's Italian. His name's Alonso.
I'm just saying. He's got to be.
That would explain the chest hair.
He's got to be at least 38 because he had a beard like the minute he was born.
My prediction for Judge, the contract he's going to sign, you guys are probably going to think I'm nuts. 12 years, $500 million.
Nah.
I think it's going to be.
He's not going to play till he's 42.
I think he's got some longevity just because of the shape he's in. Because a lot of home run hitters, they're a lot beefier guys that don't last that long. But I think he's like the definition of a pure athlete, and I think he'll last that long. But I think it's going to be 12 years, around $500 million.
I think it's going to be, because of this season, based on the other salaries that have been given out to pitchers, I think he'll get $350 for 8.
I could see that too.
That's a lot.
I think
$350.
I don't think he's gonna retire when he's 38 though.
$350 over 8 years is almost $44 million a year.
I can't see him retiring at 38 though.
I can't see his body holding up that long. Crashing into walls, running, being tall automatically makes your legs jacked up. Like you're fucked when you're older.
That's the thing too, is like I really want the Mets to look into signing him, because if you have him and Alonso, no, I'm just saying, if you
They
have,
can look. He's never going to sign with them.
I know that, but I've put it in my head before. If you have him and Alonso in the same lineup, you get a chance to, because Pete Alonso's only playing, he's playing first base. It's not as taxing as playing center field. And then you already got Nimmo there, and you have a chance to rest Judge as a DH and keep Alonso at the first base position. If you put it that way, it makes sense. I know there's a lot more that goes into it, but I think that's what a lot of teams are looking at too, is that if they can find a way to put Aaron Judge as a DH, if they have a strong enough outfield, I think that's the reason he's going to play longer.
The problem is though, he's a borderline Gold Glover right now. So like,
yeah,
he's one of your better defenders.
Exactly.
Because he's not a center fielder, he's a right fielder.
But would you rather have him for longevity as a DH, or would you rather have him as a Gold Glover?
He can either. Overall, he can play DH when he's done playing the outfield, like it was intended.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that was the whole point of the DH, was to keep aging veterans involved in the game. But we've been talking baseball a long time. I want to move on to some other topics.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Before we move on, you could take the guy off the show, but you can't take him out of the show.
Off the guy.
To show off the guy. I don't know, but we have some from Anthony. Wants to ask Dave a question. He goes, this is Anthony, the Rook Choice, brand new father of 2 gorgeous baby girls, has a question for Dave. And his question is, Dave, not sure if I missed it, but how do you feel about your Mets this year? Championship, NLCS appearance, playoffs? What's the ceiling?
So, playoffs, no doubt, absolutely. Let's just go straight to the championship. We're not going to talk about NLCS, but championship, I really thought that this was the team, but my dad constantly brings up 86 because he's a nostalgic fuck. And
he's a gentleman.
He is a gentleman. And I constantly ask him, does this team remind you all of 86? And he says, absolutely not. Don't ever ask me that again. And something in my heart tells me that if the Mets don't have an 86 team, they're not going to win.
Well, they outlawed cocaine, so.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean,
you know what that 86 team did in the morning when they woke up? Cocaine. You know what they had for dinner? Cocaine. You know what they had in between breakfast and dinner?
Cigarettes.
Cocaine.
They probably had the cigarettes in the dugout.
They did a hell of a lot of speed too. And no, but just like basing it off that probably isn't a strong argument, but I think they have I definitely think they have a chance to make the World Series this year. But putting them at the highest percentage to win the World Series as a World Series favorite, I don't really see that mainly because of their bullpen strength. You got Diaz, I get it, but in between Diaz and your starting pitcher, you got nobody.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of teams that win the World Series, they're setup guys, the Jeff Nelsons and Mike Stantons of the world, and Ramiro Mendozas of the world. You know those are the guys that do it. They're the ones that get it done.
And it's going to happen in the playoffs where your starting pitcher can't pitch 7 innings. And if you're relying on Scherzer and DeGrom to go 7 innings every time they start, you're not going to win. So unless I know the trade deadline's over and everything like that, they need to address. They're not addressing the problems that they're seeing. And
we saw what happened last year with Scherzer toward the playoffs, where he just got tired.
That's the thing. He's 37 years old. He's going to get tired. I really don't see him slowing down with the Mets this year because, I mean, he's had one bad game all year. The guy's been pretty much lights out every single game. And DeGrom.
What was his bad game? Scherzer. What did he?
The game recently, he just walked everybody on a Tuesday night.
Monday.
Or Monday night, yeah. And it was just walk after walk. And you kind of saw part of his weakness, but the thing is about his weakness, when he shows weakness, he gets pissed off. You don't see that with a lot of pitchers nowadays. where you just see a fire light in his eyes to just finish his start.
Fairly certain he has a fire lighting in one of his eyes all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Monday, that was what, the Yankee game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but kind of like what Nick was saying earlier, you know what? If you give up 4 runs, you should win the game.
You should be able to score 5 runs. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, I like the Mets. You know, I like McNeil. You know, I like that they called.
You only like McNeil because he's Irish.
And he's on my fantasy. And he's on my fantasy team. But that helps too. Being Irish always helps. I like the Mets' chances. You know, and talking about Scherzer with that fire, not many other pitchers have that. You know.
I mean, you guys
remember that desire.
You guys remember in the playoffs when you could read his lips and what he said? Have you guys ever seen that or no?
I actually didn't watch the playoffs last year.
I forget what the situation was. It was when he played for Washington. I forget what the situation was, but you can read his lips, and he literally says, "You're fucking mine, you bitch motherfucker."
Wow.
And
right.
you don't see that a lot in any sport nowadays. You don't. I mean, you might see it in hockey when like there's.
I saw Anthony Rizzo tell Lindor to shut the fuck up on Monday.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't even talk to me. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That was great.
But that brings me back to like when I was a kid growing up in the early 2000s and watching the Rangers, and Sean Avery would skate past a microphone and be like, "Fuck you, motherfucker," and you hear it on live TV. And
Sean Avery, we love you, Aves.
I love Sean Avery.
Show.
We love him, and you heard that as a kid, and it got you excited because you knew they actually cared about the game.
Yeah, and it's also it's like a human side of it in a way too, to where you look at these guys, they're like larger than life athletes that you look up to, and then when you see Rizzo go, "Shut the fuck up," or like you have Scherzer saying, "You're mine, bitch," it's like. Oh, it's like I talk shit like that too.
Yeah,
they're doing it. I'm like, wow, that's
not. His wife doesn't allow it.
I didn't say who I talk that shit to, but he's also correct. Anthony had one more thing. This comment's a little old, but this is when we were talking about the Giants earlier. He makes a good point. Anthony goes when Dave and I were talking about being sad Giant fans. Anthony says, "Don't be sad. Be proud, Dave. Being a Giants fan had good times. 2 Super Bowls in your lifetime." And it's true. Nothing from the Rangers or the Mets. But those 2 Giants Super Bowls were fire.
That's the thing about it. That's where it gets weird with being a Rangers and Giants fan, because the Rangers have been consistently good. I mean, I know they went through the rebuild, but that was a pretty quick rebuild for
fire
on NHL standards. But the Giants just don't get the respect that they deserve as a franchise. They don't. Because people can't, even when they won those 2 Super Bowls, both those years, people counted, they didn't just count them out. They painted them as like this embarrassment to the league. And Eli Manning came in and beat Tom Brady twice.
So that's a great segue.
I know Nick Foles did it, but fuck him.
That's a great segue because I wanted to talk about the Giants a little bit. The first thing I'll say is
I just want to take a quick commercial break real quick. I got to get these commercials in. Be right back.
Fellas, the fantasy football draft season is right around the corner. CeeDee Lamb is good, but have you seen these beautiful balls? It's time to get your snake looking right for this snake draft with sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with the Performance Package 4.0. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BellyUpFantasy. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Tom Brady didn't come out of retirement for you to have hairy balls. So slot it at the quarterback and get 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code BellyUpFantasy at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code BellyUpFantasy at Manscaped.com. It's time to put the PP back in a PPR league.
Oh, that's one of my favorite ones.
That's a hell of an advertisement.
Yeah, I know. I'm over here cracking up at it. It's pretty funny. Nick, I think you're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, it is. So talking about football, talking about the Giants, Dave, the reason that everybody hated on the Giants when they won those Super Bowls is because Eli Manning was their quarterback and he fucking sucked. Truth of the matter, I'm sorry. Everybody sits there and oh, we're greatest of all time. He played 8 billion games in a row. He was on a team that won a Super Bowl. Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls as well. He is also not in the Hall of Fame. You know why? Because he wasn't that good. That's why. Eli Manning's biggest claim to fame will always be being Peyton's brother. I love when Peyton posts stuff about Eli being stupid.
I gotta strongly disagree with you because
Eli Manning only ever led the league in turnovers.
He's a top 10 passer of all time.
Because the league has loosened up the fucking way that you pass the ball, not because he's actually good at it. You play 15 years in the league, you're gonna be top 10.
But then,
especially now, if you look at a wide receiver the wrong way, it's pass interference.
But then, if you're saying that, you got to take a lot away from Tom Brady then, because he's been protected by the refs his entire career.
I don't disagree with you about that. I don't disagree with you about that at all. But the only difference is that Tom Brady actually has led the league in something. He actually has a league MVP.
Okay, I think
Eli Manning has only ever got drafted in the first round because his brother is Peyton Manning and his father's Archie Manning. If he wasn't last name Manning, he would have been drafted in the third round.
None of that
this sounds personal.
He ended up going to the Giants, and
he ended up going to the Chargers, and then he cried like a little bitch. Okay, instead of thanking God that he gets to play a game for a living, he cried like a little pussy until he got his way.
And Nick, guess what those tears brought me? 2 rings.
Phillip Rivers would have brought you 4.
He would not have brought me 4.
No way.
Phillip Rivers actually led the league in things other than turnovers.
No way.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Eli Manning couldn't spell. Listen, Eli Manning's name is Eli because his parents knew anything more than 3 letters would be too much for him.
Oof. He's digging deep today.
This is personal.
Listen, the guy didn't speak his first word till he was 3 years old.
I can't believe
that's not a joke. That's a fact.
I can't believe you saved all this to go in on the Giants and not the Mets. That's what's shocking me.
The Mets are good. The Mets are good. Anytime the Mets have actually done anything, they've actually been good. Eli Manning has only ever been good at giving the ball to the wrong team. I'll never forget in that preseason game when Jim Leonard busted his skull open and he started bleeding and he grabbed his head and he was like, "What is this red stuff coming out of my head?" Eli Manning has permanent confused George Bush face.
Wait, Nick, who's your team again?
I'm a Jets fan.
And
you want
to talk about turnovers in the Hall of Fame, you have Joe Namath in the Hall of Fame.
You're right. And for 5 years, he was the greatest quarterback in the NFL.
But he also threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
Absolutely, because every year he played other than those 5 years. But for 4 or 5 years, look at his stats. It's Joe Namath, 16 million feet of crap, and then the rest of the NFL. Without a doubt, he was the best quarterback in the league. Eli Manning was never undoubtedly top 10.
But also look at who Eli Manning was playing against too. He was playing against some insane quarterbacks.
Ben Roethlisberger was not so freaking incredible as a quarterback that Eli Manning shouldn't have been able to edge him out. He really wasn't. If you look at his style, it wasn't so impressive. He didn't take over the game. He played within his system. He had a good surrounding cast and outstanding defense. Basically, Ben Roethlisberger is what Eli Manning could have been if he was a little bit more mobile and knew which team to throw to.
But look at Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning's playoff stats. That's when it matters.
You're right. Ben Roethlisberger has what, 3 Super Bowls?
2.
2?
No. Wait. Does he have 2 or 3?
I thought he had 3, but I could be mistaken.
He won in 05 and then in 09 against the Cardinals. They didn't win again after that, did they?
I forgot. I could have sworn he had 3, or maybe I'm thinking of his sexual assault cases.
Oh, Oh, zing! Yeah, he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
But again, 2-time Super Bowl champion, right? 2-time NFL passing yards leader.
Right.
That's something Eli Manning does not have.
Bro, Eli Manning is the one in 18-1. That's it.
Great. His team is the one. Eli Manning is a member of the team. The kicker is also part of that 18-1.
But he's also the Super Bowl MVP.
Because his last name was Manning. Anybody on the defense should have been the MVP of both those Super Bowls. The defense won those championships.
But name
The defense won I'll say to you, the defense won those championships. And miraculous catches from Manningham and fucking, who was it, Tyree?
And the thing
That's
is,
it.
I
He closed his eyes, threw the ball downfield, and Tyree caught it on his helmet. God bless him.
The thing is, I agree with the statement that offense wins games, defense wins championships. Don't get me wrong. But can you tell me one more valuable player on that team, on both teams, than Eli
Michael
Manning?
Strahan and O.C. Umenyiora are both more valuable than Eli Manning.
No.
That's like saying that Joe Flacco was more valuable than Ray Lewis.
So are you saying that if Nick Foles was our quarterback those 2 years, we would?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if Mark Sanchez was your fucking quarterback those 2 years, you would have won the Super Bowl.
Don't
That's what I'm saying.
No, don't.
Because Mark Sanchez was the Jets, if they had a pass rush that year, go to the Super Bowl.
No, there's no way.
Those 2 years that Mark Sanchez went to the AFC Championship game before the Giants won their second Super Bowl, at that point the Jets had won more playoff games than the Giants had in the previous in that 10-year time frame. Mark Sanchez had more playoff victories than Eli Manning at one point in his career.
But who came out with more rings in that 10-year?
I got that. Again, the Jets were one pass rusher away from being in a Super Bowl.
Okay.
If they had Michael Strahan or O.C. Umenyiora on those Jets teams, they go to the Super Bowl.
Let me make one thing clear too. I'm not a person that thinks that the David Tyree catch was the greatest catch in Super Bowl history. I'm not. The Manningham catch was so much better to get his feet in, but that throw by Eli was the most perfect throw you've ever seen in NFL history.
That's not true at all, because the throw that Roethlisberger threw to Santonio Holmes in the back of the end zone against the Cardinals, that was the most perfect throw I've ever seen in NFL history.
He was also out of bounds.
Yeah, but replay showed he wasn't.
He was out of bounds. Replay shows that he is.
And honestly, the whole Manningham thing, the Giants shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl that year because they should have lost the game to the 49ers when I want to say it was Brandon Jacobs fumbled the ball, but they blew the whistle before he fumbled it because, I don't know, they felt like it. I don't know what the rest
blew the whistle.
Because they chose to, not because it was required. Like he was in the process of moving forward, and they were like, nah, fuck that shit. And they blew a whistle right when he fumbled the ball. And they were like, oh, sorry, dude. We already called it.
It doesn't make a difference. The whistle's blown. That goes for all sports that involve a whistle. If the whistle's blown, the play is dead.
Yeah, the Giants got helped out by the ref there. But again, Eli Manning's a shit quarterback. And he'll get to the Hall of Fame because his last name is Manning, not because he was good at all.
Top 7.
Again, Jim Plunkett has 2 Super Bowls.
Top 7.
Did he beat Tom Brady? Did he beat Tom Brady? Jim
Again, show me the play where Eli Manning is on the field at the same time as Tom Brady.
Dude, it's
he didn't beat
the
Tom Brady.
captain
He
of that
beat the
team.
Patriots defense.
But if Brady didn't do what he had
Brady's
to
not
do,
playing safety for the New England Patriots.
Right, but here's it. All right, so when there's a pitching duel, right?
But that's only hold on. That's only because in baseball you attribute wins and losses to pitchers. Just like in hockey, you attribute wins and losses to goalies. So they technically beat each other, but they didn't really beat each other.
But wins and
But
losses
in football,
don't really
the quarterback doesn't get a W.
Wins and losses don't really matter in baseball, especially when it comes to the Cy Young Award.
Again, it doesn't anymore, but once upon a time it did because you pitched the whole game like a goalie plays a whole game in hockey. That's why a goalie gets a fucking W in hockey, because he plays the entire game. Once upon a time, pitchers played the entire game.
But if Eli helps his team score more
so does the kicker.
than the other team.
So does the running back. So does the kicker. So do the wide receivers.
Yeah, but Eli's the center. The quarterback's the center.
No, technically the center is the center. That's why they call him the center.
No, but the quarterback is the center of the team.
Again, with that defense, that running game, anybody would have won the World Series. Excuse me, the Super Bowl. Eli Manning is not special, all right? That's why he only ever led the league. Go look at his Wikipedia page. Go look at his Football Reference. He only ever led the league in turnovers. He never led the league in any other meaningful stat except for interceptions.
But you also have to look at the quarterbacks he was battling against that year.
The quarterbacks on the other teams did not make him throw turnovers.
No, and I agree with that, but the difference is, first of all, he was one of the most.
When we talk about greatness, we talk about the people you're compared to, your peers, right?
Yeah.
So if everybody was better than him, then he clearly wasn't great.
I guarantee, if you look at both those years that he was playing quarterback, and he wasn't top whatever in anything. You look at his playoff stats to the quarterbacks that were in his peer group, he blows them out of the fucking water.
I'm almost positive he only made the playoffs those 2 years they won the Super Bowl.
And I will agree with you. The only reason
all those other quarterbacks made the playoffs way more times.
And I agree
with
you.
Their stats overall are probably better because they had more appearances.
I agree with you that the reason that we made the playoffs was because of that defense. But the reason we won those Super Bowls was because majority of how Eli was throwing.
Because Tom Brady was frantic, and if you buzz his tower, he has bad games.
And if
you buzz Tom Brady's tower, he has bad games. That's a fact.
All right, so look at it this way. Like you just said, if Tom Brady has a bad game, there's still the kicker and the running back to score points. But even with that, you still have to be on point to get the ball into their hands in a way. You need to drive down the field to get that kicker in field goal range.
I don't disagree with you, right? What I'm saying is, and every Giants fan is afraid to admit it, you were all threatening to hang this man from the nearest lamppost before the 2007 Super Bowl win.
Not true whatsoever.
Every single Giants fan went and bought their Eli jerseys at Modell's after they won the Super Bowl. You all hated this kid, okay? You won the Super Bowl and you were like, oh my God, he's the greatest thing ever. And he's not. He's just not, all right? You talk about, well, look who he had to compete against. Then he wasn't the best. If he had to compete against better players and they were all better, we're agreeing they're all better, then he wasn't the best in his generation. He just won 2 Super Bowls because he was on a team that won 2 Super Bowls. That's like saying Luis Soho is the best fucking utility infielder of all time because he was on a Yankee team that won 3 championships.
But we're not – okay. The reason we love him so much is because he's the best Giants quarterback ever.
No, he's not. Phil Simms was a better quarterback.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. Phil Simms was a better quarterback.
Based on your Giants fan comment about we all bought our jerseys after he won the Super Bowl, I have a photo from 2006 of me meeting Eli Manning for the first time when I was 8 years old, and he's signing my jersey, and the whole team passed the ball around. So that comment for me is completely irrelevant.
Listen, I was sitting in practice with a whole bunch of Giants fans and like, yo, fuck this guy. I hate this guy.
That's just not me. So
here's my question for you guys. Take away those 2 Super Bowl championships. Is Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame?
No.
Probably not.
There it is. So he's not a great quarterback. Period.
Is Phil Rivers going to be in the Hall of Fame? No. He didn't win 2 Super Bowls.
You know what? That might be their only reason, and that sucks because he was a top 10 quarterback his entire career.
Based on how they rank.
He was a top 10 quarterback his entire career.
What about Big Ben? Without his 2 Super Bowls, you put him in the Hall of Fame?
Statistically, yeah. He was the league's he's a passing leader at least twice in his career. And then he has 2 Super Bowls on top of it. And he was offensive rookie of the year.
No, say you take out the Super Bowls.
And he was offensive rookie of the year, too.
Take out the Super Bowls. Yeah. And Angel Barola was the rookie of the year when he beat Matsui. Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
That's great. But I'm saying is Ben Roethlisberger was rookie of the year, offensive player of the year, right? Offensive rookie of the year. Right. And then he was the passing leader twice.
All right. How many years did he play?
Wasn't Odell?
And he's 6-time Pro Bowler.
Wasn't Odell rookie of the year?
Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah.
And if he never got injured, he would have had a Hall of Fame career. Shit, Giants fans were saying he was going to be better than fucking Jerry Rice when he won Rookie of the Year.
Okay. I have a question for you here. If he doesn't have Eli Manning as his quarterback for the first...
Yes, he's still better. Yes, absolutely. He's still better.
He would not have had...
Because Matthew Stafford is not a great fucking quarterback, and he looked great last year playing with Matthew Stafford.
He played for 3 games.
And he looked great in those 3 games playing with Matthew Stafford.
But that's 3 games versus 3 seasons.
Again, he still looks good either way.
No. If he has a mediocre quarterback the first couple years of his career, he's not who he is. He's not able to make those plays.
I mean, he did have a mediocre quarterback the first 3 years of his career.
He didn't, though.
But at the end of Eli's career, he wasn't fucking great.
But he was
Even
still
if he was a great quarterback, it was the end of his career. He wouldn't be great.
But
It's like sitting there saying that fucking 22-year-old or 25-year-old Roger Clemens is the same as 40-year-old Roger Clemens. It's not the same. Like
he was still throwing textbook Eli Manning throws.
Yeah, to the opposing team. I know. That's why they sat his ass.
Oh my God.
But moving on, what I wanted to talk about with the Giants is Kayvon Thibodeau gets injured on a cut block this week.
He's fine.
All right. Luckily, he wasn't injured. Now, there's a big debate going along in the football world, football community about whether or not that block was dirty. Now, before I get into my position on it, I will say that I've seen a lot of comments on the Twitters, mainly from offensive linemen, saying that it is not a dirty play. Defensive players are saying it is a dirty play. Dave, what are your thoughts?
It was borderline, but I'm also, when it comes to plays like that, I'm also, I have an old school mindset where just fucking deal with it. Like, it happened. There's no reason to bitch about it. It happened. You're fine. Whatever. It didn't get called. Whatever.
Well, so it's a legal play. It's absolutely legal.
No, it is. But I understand where people are coming from when they think it was dirty. But I'm also, like, part of me wants to say it is dirty because I'm a Giants fan. There's no doubt in my mind. Because I'm the biggest homer anyone's ever met. But there's also the side of me that says, get the fuck over it. And that's when you, like, let's compare it to hockey. You're watching that Pittsburgh series, and you saw all the shit that Pittsburgh fans were bitching about with dirty plays with Jacob Trouba. We dealt with it all year, and none of them were dirty. I mean, the Carolina hit, maybe it was borderline dirty, but it really wasn't. It was a textbook hockey hit. You got to keep in mind that it's a contact sport and shit like that is going to happen. So it's tough because I've never gone in depth this much on a preseason play in my entire life. But I don't think it was a dirty play. I really don't. I don't.
Matt?
I don't think it was dirty. A little unnecessary to maybe.
That's the word I was looking for.
Make a tackle like that during the preseason. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's football. You know, we hear all the time, all the injuries, CTE bullshit, and how football players don't necessarily have long careers like you would in baseball or basketball or even hockey. And like, I think preseason's stupid to begin with, you know, but that's a different thing. I don't think it was dirty. And this is a Giants fan.
I absolutely think it was dirty. And I'll tell you why. While it is a legal play, right? I've noticed that the offensive linemen that played in the NFL are the first ones to say that it's not dirty. No reason that they're saying it's not dirty is not because they truthfully feel that way. It's more because they did it their entire career and they don't want to be called dirty. But
I agree with that.
And here's my biggest sticking point with the whole thing. While it might be considered within the confines of the rules, if a coach came up to you and said, "This is what you're going to do. You're going to throw a block, cut across, throw a block. I want you to aim for his knee." Would that sound okay to you?
That's like a Karate Kid sweep the leg type thing.
Sweep the fucking leg. All right. Now, to me, it's in the confines of the rules. But as a man, to me, that sounds dirty. And I'll go one further. I equated it to boxing. You equated it to hockey. I equated it to boxing. If you know your opponent cannot see, right? But the ref doesn't stop the fight, does that make it okay for you as a man and a competitor to beat the shit out of the guy when you know he cannot see, but the referee is too stupid to call the fight?
I mean, if you're a man in that situation, I think you're just gonna knock him the fuck out.
But I'm telling you right now,
I'm just being honest.
That's the only answer.
It's not though. It's not.
Like,
I'll tie him up until the end of the round, and then when they go have medical staff look at him, and they'll be like, he can't fucking see. I'll give an example. There was an MMA fight where a guy was visibly fucked up and the referee would not call the fight. His opponent bent over and tapped the ground and said, "I quit. I'm not going to fight this guy. I could kill him right now. he cannot compete with me. And they asked him, like, why'd you do that? He's like, he's fucked up. The referee didn't call the fight. I'm not going to hurt him because he can't fight and the referee won't call it. He's hurt. If a coach came up to me as a player and was like, what I want you to do is aim for that guy's knees and try to like fuck him up real bad.
No, you don't do it.
That was
All right.
like
It's the Bill Goldberg situation. It's the Bill Goldberg. Sorry you weren't athletic. And all the offensive linemen are sitting there saying he didn't put himself in a good position to take on that block. Sorry you weren't athletic enough to stop me from fucking being reckless. That's basically what it was. That's Bill Goldberg kicked Bret Hart in the face, and his apology was, I'm sorry you're not athletic enough to stop me from being unsafe in the ring. That's what every offensive lineman said, was he didn't put himself in a position to receive that block. So I'm sorry that you weren't athletic enough to receive the dirty fucking dirty move I was going to make. Because again, I don't think there's any NFL or any football coach in football from Pop Warner to the NFL that goes, what you're going to do is you're going to take this block and you're going to aim at the guy's ACL.
Well, didn't the Saints have that issue?
Bounty Gate?
Yeah, Bounty Gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did. If you look at the replay, he aims his shoulder at Thibodeau's knee. I'm not a Giants fan I'm not a homer. I'm just sitting there going, like, as a player, he didn't even try to block him. He just tried to throw his shoulder at the man's leg. Now, as a person that has knee injuries in my life, like, to me, that's not cool. If I was Thibodeau, I would have stopped halfway and punched him in the freaking throat. Because, he has a helmet on. Punching him in the head would be stupid.
Yeah. I got to say, and I'm sure, Matt, you'll agree with me too, watching that play was a scary sight as a Giants fan.
Listen, as a person that has been injured in the knee, it terrified me. Because I could feel every past knee injury I ever received in that, like, I relived it, and my knees hurt just watching.
Because I'm not saying that Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be our saving grace, but I think he's going to be part of the rebuild, a big part of it.
You want to at least find out.
Exactly. And, you got a lot to look forward to with this season. I know everyone's predicting the Giants to be a shit team again. And I don't know what to expect, but you got Saquon rebounding. It's his last shot. And you got Brian Daboll as the head coach, and you got him working with Daniel Jones, and he's worked a lot with Josh Allen. So you got that to look forward to see if he can really, if he's legit. Because I know he brought Josh Allen up from the bottom, but let's see what he can do with Daniel Jones. Because Daniel Jones, I just want to bring this up too. He hasn't been given his shot yet. 3 offenses in 4 years. There's no quarterback that can deal with that. There's none.
I feel like he shouldn't have been drafted to the team.
No, he shouldn't have. The fact that they drafted a quarterback from Duke is fucking ridiculous.
I was going to say that. I don't have to.
If you look at the draft class the next year, 10 times different. They could have gotten someone so much better. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback. I don't think he really is a bad quarterback. Is he average? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a great quarterback because I don't think anyone does that. That would be ridiculous for saying that. But he also hasn't been given his shot yet. Because
I agree.
Because you look at Tom Brady. Let's just bring up Tom Brady again. He doesn't have built. If he had 3 offenses in the first 4 years of his career, as coming in the spot that he was supposed to fill with Drew Bledsoe, he's not Tom Brady.
Well, to be fair, Tom Brady also played football at Michigan when they were really good.
Absolutely,
he didn't play at Duke. And when I say play at Duke, I mean play football at Duke. Not if he would have played basketball at Duke, draft Daniel Jones in the first round, first pick overall. But he played football. You don't play football at Duke University because you're good at football.
Don't get me wrong, Nick. I completely disagree with that draft pick. I do.
He was available in the second round. There was no other team in the NFL that was taking him in the first round.
And I still don't understand why we took him. And
it put him in a bad spot too, because now everybody's looking at him like, dude, you were a first rounder. If he's a second rounder, people aren't talking about getting rid of him.
And again, going off of last chance things, it's Saquon's last shot.
Did you guys see his quotes today?
Oh yeah,
No.
he said.
I think he was talking at you guys specifically, the two of you.
Oh, what did he not?
What did he say?
You don't know what Saquon said today?
He
No,
said
I missed it.
I'm probably not quoting it correctly, but he basically said all the haters fuck them.
I'll draft him in the first round in fantasy.
I did it last
with
year.
the 9th pick.
I did it last year, and I was an idiot.
I'm not a hater. He won me a
said,
championship his rookie year in fantasy. I dominated. I think
I had him his rookie year too, and he was. You remember watching him?
So
it
he
was,
said,
it was fun. It was fun to watch.
And
he said
that pass that Odell made to him. Oh my God!
Odell could play quarterback for the Giants better than Daniel Jones. Today, he said people are trying to write me off. You know what? Fuck everybody. I'm ready to go crazy, and I'm gonna let the world feel me.
I don't think he's talking about Giants fans because
He was talking about you two in particular. He said fuck everybody. He meant you two.
Yeah.
Matt and Dave.
Yeah,
I think
that was everybody. He meant Matt and Dave.
Because I scroll through TikTok and you see all these you see all these dudes that make like football TikToks and everything, and as soon as the Giants pop up on anything, they're like, because they're trying to build like the 17-0 team. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
It's like the filter thing.
It generates a random team,
and you got to build the team.
Yeah.
Rook did it the other day.
As soon as the Giants pop up, they're like, oh shit, or they're ranking teams or whatever.
Yeah, Anthony did it the other day, and he got the Giants twice, and he was like, "Ah, oh, fuck."
No, this is the thing that pisses me off is because one guy made a TikTok about all-time franchises and ranking them, and he put the Giants at 5, and he put the Titans at 3, and I was just like, "Do you watch football, bro?" This guy knows nothing about. He's going based off of Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's. He's a great running back, don't get me wrong, but he's done nothing for his team.
Yeah.
And he's been there for like 5 years, and they've done nothing. Like, if you were to sit there and say Eddie George, at least Eddie George went to a Super Bowl and lost.
I still think Derrick Henry is the most effective running back in the NFL, but he doesn't have an offensive line. Going back on that, it's just like the Giants have won 4 Super Bowls. There's not a lot of teams that have done even close to that. Put some respect.
Hard in the NFL.
I just want some respect put on the Giants' name.
No, listen, I can't sit here and say the Giants are above number 5 overall for every team in the league.
No,
as far as
they're not.
clout.
They're not.
As far as clout is concerned, you're talking about the Patriots, you're talking about the Packers, you're talking about the Niners, you're talking about the Cowboys,
Steelers.
The Steelers. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that they got some. The Bears back in the 80s were fucking incredible. So were the Giants in the 80s. Were very, very good. But the Broncos have had very good teams as well. The Bucks have had very good teams as well.
And I like, as a Giants fan, and Matt, you can agree with me, you just want some respect put on the history that the Giants have. Because
the problem is
we literally still hold the greatest defensive player ever. And it doesn't even come close to anybody. Like, I know people are trying to compare Aaron Donald to Lawrence Taylor. Look at Aaron Donald's highlight tape and the style of play, and then look at Lawrence Taylor's.
I wouldn't say he was the greatest defensive player ever. Definitely the greatest linebacker ever.
I think he's the greatest defensive player.
Because there have been safeties that have had more effect on the game than Lawrence Taylor.
Until Aaron Donald main events WrestleMania like Lawrence Taylor did, I don't want to hear the comparison.
First of all, that's a stupid thing to say because fucking a punter main evented WrestleMania. So what the fuck are we talking about here?
I think the greatest football player to ever go on WWE by far was probably Gronk. It was really funny when he went on.
I like Gronk there. He was there for a little, and then he went back to play with Brady.
Steve Mongo McMichael.
He's not doing too good right now.
So do you guys think Gronk's coming out of retirement?
No.
I think there's a chance he might.
I don't think it makes a difference.
No, it doesn't. And at this point, they're doing it just for the publicity. I don't think Tom Brady is. I think Gronk is. Because Tom
Brady's trying to fix his legacy.
I think he's going in for another Super Bowl.
I'm going to be honest with you. Tom Brady and Derek Jeter is doing the same thing. They're both trying to fix their legacy right now. Because nobody had anything nice to say about them as human beings up until they hit like 40 years old. And think about that for a second. Derek Jeter's doing this show, The Captain, right now, right? Did you ever hear anybody say anything about how Derek Jeter's a great guy, give you the shirt off his back?
I heard that my entire childhood because I always thought.
No, you heard him say that he's a great player, great face of the franchise.
No, actually, the majority of what I grew up with was that he was overrated and he was a singles hitter. But
I mean, that's not untrue. But
he was always a class act.
Being classy. Wait, hold on. But being classy in front of a camera does not make you a good person.
No, it doesn't.
Well, what I always heard when I was younger was that you never had any off the field problems with Jeter. He's a class act. There's no off the field problems, which alluded.
You also never heard. But you never also heard any of his teammates say that they loved him and they went to his fucking house for his birthday party or any of that crap. He's fucking Bo Callahan.
He's a private guy.
If you watch Draft Day, he's Bo Callahan, where like he's a great player. The coaches love him, but nobody shows up to his birthday party because they just don't like him as a person. He's got one friend, Jorge Posada. That's it.
I mean, Gerald Williams was his friend.
No, Gerald Williams was Bernie Williams' friend. He just said that Gerald Williams was his friend. Gerald Williams was Bernie Williams' roommate in the minor leagues. They both made the majors at the same time. And Bernie made the fucking majors in fucking 1992. So how is he best friends with Derek Jeter, who made the majors 4 years later?
I can't speak to their friendship.
Yeah. Derek Jeter at this point. Listen, I just want to point out, have you noticed within the last 5 years, Derek Jeter and Tom Brady have been very vocal on Twitter in a very jokey kind of light compared to the previous times of their lives where they never said a fucking word on Twitter?
I gotta give Tom Brady credit. He's a funny guy. He actually is.
Yeah, because he's got somebody running his Twitter that makes him fucking genius. All right. Tom Brady was a tool bag his entire life, and then he got to the Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller situation where he was a scumbag his whole fucking life, and now it's coming toward the end, and he looks back and he realizes nobody had anything nice to say about him as a person, other than he was a great businessman. So like Carnegie started building Carnegie Hall, Rockefeller built Rockefeller Center, so that people would have nice things to say about them when they stopped talking about them.
Well,
up to that point, it was all based on what they did on the field, never about who they were as human beings.
Do you guys agree that this might be a little off topic, that he solidified his greatness as the best quarterback of all time when he won a Super Bowl with the Bucs?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Because I said he was a system quarterback up to that point.
Yeah, and
because Matt Castle looked amazing playing in the same system, and even I want to say Jacoby Brissett looked great for about 4 games playing under the same system.
And yeah,
Garoppolo too.
I mean, Mac. I don't know if it's the same system in New England right now. It's probably not, just because him and Mac Jones are very different quarterbacks. But you look at Mac Jones playing, and it's almost like it's almost like, I mean, I didn't really grow up hating New England. The only reason I hated New England is my best friend and my neighbor growing up as a kid was a New England fan. And
where'd you grow up?
New York.
You should have set that kid's house on fire.
His dad's from Foxborough, so I respected it.
That's no. You're from New York. You hate everything Boston. Everything.
I mean, I don't hate the Red Sox.
I fucking hate everything Boston.
I
would set the whole state on fire of Massachusetts, except for the Sam Adams factory. They're putting up good numbers.
Well, Matt, me and you got no reason to hate the Patriots because they've never been a problem.
I've always liked Brady. You know what it is?
Hold on. Matt's a front runner. So if you're a really good player at any sport, he really likes you a lot.
No, that's not the definition of a front runner.
No, but listen, Tom Brady's a great quarterback. I have always wished nothing but bad things for him. Okay. Tom Brady, like, I will not wear the jersey of a player on another team because I root for my teams. I don't wear jerseys for other teams except for Roberto Clemente. But Matt will wear a Tom Brady jersey.
I only do that for football. I would never do it.
He'll wear a LeBron jersey too.
Well, I'm not a Knicks fan. Fuck the Knicks. I don't even like basketball. And I don't even know
whether you like basketball or not. This is fucking New York. You have to root for the Knicks.
I spent $25 on some bullshit Chinese website for that LeBron jersey.
Oh my!
So you admit you have a LeBron jersy, scumbag?
Yes, I admit it. Heat with the Heat. Everyone had it at that point.
I don't.
I did it. I know you did.
I don't.
By the way, all my jerseys are Chinese. Fuck fanatics and fuck everyone else.
I don't even follow basketball to know who that is, to be honest. So I
don't follow basketball either, but you should know who John Starks is, scumbag.
Nick, I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that guy's first name either. I don't watch basketball at all.
Well, to be fair, Dave, he stopped playing for the Knicks before you were born, so you get a pass.
Yeah, but I still know a lot of sports history. I just don't know basketball history.
But Matt should know better because John Starks was playing for the Knicks back when the Knicks were making the finals.
I didn't watch basketball.
Shame on you.
Then. What?
It's because there weren't enough white people playing basketball. That's why he didn't watch basketball.
Wow.
That's
wow.
He's like, why should I watch this? Clearly, I'm not represented.
Wow. That is not the case. It was a Yankee and Giants household when I grew up. It was never basketball. I didn't care about basketball. When I got to high school and the Lakers were in the finals, my boy would come over. We would watch the finals, and then that's it. I didn't care for it. Bro, you could not watch a full basketball game, put on the last 5 minutes, and that's when it's most interesting.
I agree.
I don't disagree with you. And listen, I'm not a basketball fan. I just don't root for teams that don't represent me. And I'm represented by New York because I'm from New York. There's only one team that I root for. I take it back. There's two teams that I root for that I'm not from that town. I wanted to go to Florida State University because they have a circus. And I figured
would have fit right in.
I would have fit right. Exactly. I could have joined the circus. Like if it didn't work out in college, at least I'm an awesome trapeze artist.
That is true.
But I'm poor, so I couldn't afford to go to school there.
Nick, that's funny that you say that because I guess the unofficial college basketball team that I root for is West Virginia because I committed to West Virginia when I graduated high school and I never went.
I thought you were going to say because you had thoughts about marrying your cousin.
Yeah, no. When it comes to that, I'm still a New Yorker, I promise.
And then I root for the Washington Nationals because for a time when they were the Expos, they were playing in Puerto Rico, and I didn't want them to get rid of the franchise. If you remember, Matt, they were talking about getting rid of the Twins and the Expos.
Yeah.
And I didn't want them to get rid of any Major League Baseball teams, and I figured, well, the only way for them not to get rid of the team would be to like root for that team, right? Watch their games, buy their merchandise. Then they're not going to get rid of the team if you support them. Now I'm all for getting rid of the Oakland Athletics, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and Tampa Bay Rays.
I'm already for getting rid of the fucking Seattle Kraken. Fuck that team.
and the Phoenix Coyotes.
And not even the Coyotes, because I honestly feel really bad for the fans that actually show up to those games.
All 6 of them.
Because they have some really sad history, but they still show up.
I just want to meet the guy that was like, hockey, you know where we should play it? Fucking desert. What the?
By the way, I know this isn't really a thing anymore, but fuck Paul Bissonnette.
Yeah, fuck him.
What about Biz Nasty?
Yeah, fuck Biz Nasty.
Dude, that was 3 months ago.
Fuck him.
Okay. I'm all right with it.
Fucking Coyotes.
Okay.
That's where you solidified your fucking legacy, is the fucking Phoenix Coyotes, not even Arizona.
But one last thing before we go, talk about basketball. KD staying with the Nets after demanding a trade, then demanding the coach be fired, and then, I don't know, demanding a uniform change. I don't know. He's made a lot of demands. I think he demanded they change the wood on the court to a different grain. Possibly he demanded that the rim get changed to a different color. I don't know. He made a lot of demands. I know that they acquiesced to absolutely none of them, and he signed a new deal with the Nets to stay. What's your thoughts on that? A guy demanding a trade and then signing a deal to stay. As a fan, what are your thoughts on it? Regardless of whether or not it's basketball.
Fuck him. Fuck him. That's it. KD is too young to be a bitter crybaby like Bret Hart, if you ask me.
Like Bret Hart.
So, like, and it goes back to, like, the team bent over backwards to do everything for you. And then, like, you cause problems. And then, I don't know who the player was. If you say his name, I'll probably know. But another player, not on the Nets, tweeted out saying that, not this KD bullshit is over now, you know, let's get shit going so like other players could get signed and stuff like that. I think KD just responded hashtag blame KD. So it's like, dude, it everything that did happen was, the cause of you. You did cause all this shit. And this is why I'm glad I don't fucking follow basketball, because even in football, you have, oh, I'm demanding a trade. I signed this contract, but it needs to be reworked. And I know, Nick, you agree. You said this before. A contract is a binding document. You knew what was entailed before you signed it. If you didn't want to play in Brooklyn, you shouldn't have signed the contract to go to Brooklyn. That's it. And I feel bad for Sal because, at one point in time, any New York team / New Jersey team that had ETS in it, Jets, Mets, Nets, really weren't that respected that much or were always joked about. The Jets are getting serious. The Mets are serious. And now the Nets still look like a fucking joke. It's like,
and they were looking good for a minute, for a real good minute. They, of all the teams in New York, when they got Kyrie and they got KD and they had Harden, they were looking like they were contenders for, of all the teams in New York, they were going to win a championship next.
Yes.
And it absolutely went to shit.
It did.
But Dave, what are your thoughts?
So Nick, I actually had a question for you. If someone on the Rangers was acting like KD was, I know for a fact, me, you, Rook, and TJ would be on the podcast ripping the shit out of them for that.
It's D'Angelo.
Well,
it's D'Angelo.
I think it's worse than D'Angelo. I think it's worse.
Yeah, that's true. D'Angelo never asked for a trade.
No, and D'Angelo never asked for all these fucking stupid demands that he wants. Yep. And I'm like, again, I'm not a basketball fan. I don't follow it whatsoever, but I obviously know who Kevin Durant is. But you put him on the Rangers, you put him on the Mets, you put him on the Giants. I'm denouncing that motherfucker as soon as he opens his goddamn mouth, because they are I'm not going to say that they're the luckiest, but they are that they're able to develop that talent to make that much fucking money. And all you want to do as a fan is enjoy it. But when someone's acting like an absolute douchebag and representing not just your team, but New York itself. New Yorkers take pride in their sports teams. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that guy's representing New York sports right now. And that's a fucking disgrace.
Yeah. Yeah, I concur. I think as a fan, you definitely don't want it. I mean, you kind of take it personally when somebody says they don't want to play for you. Right? Because you're
the first thing I'm thinking is go fuck yourself, go somewhere else. I don't want you anymore. I don't care. Let's say Tom Brady was on the Giants and he said, I don't want to play here anymore. I'd tell him to go kick rocks.
See ya.
I think that's how a lot of Packers fans feel about Aaron Rodgers right now. I have a couple of buddies out in they live in Wisconsin, and my buddy Crash is like, yo, fuck Aaron Rodgers. Like, he causes more problems, and we haven't won any fucking Super Bowls. We won one Super Bowl with that guy. Fuck him.
My uncle's a diehard Packers fan. And I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. That he's just
it's not worth it.
He grew up, and his favorite quarterback was Bart Starr, and that guy was the definition of a class act.
Mm.
And you grow up with guys with that, and same thing with Brett Favre. He was a class act too.
Up until the end.
He loved playing for Green Bay, but I mean, he just wanted to keep playing, and it just didn't work out. But the fact that you don't want to play for the greatest city in the world, and you're bitching about it, you can go fucking kick rocks. You're playing in the greatest sports city in the world. Fuck Boston.
I always tell people, if you win in New York, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Even if you almost win in New York, you can do whatever you want. You look at somebody like Derek Jeter could murder the mayor of New York City in Times Square and probably get away with it.
Could Eli Manning do that?
No, he would. he would accidentally pull the trigger and like kill himself by accident.
Oh, there we go.
You know what? You know what though? It's true what they say about New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's it.
It is. It's true.
I'll say this: we had the most famous special teams coordinator in all of football on our show, and I'm not going to sit here and say like, well, he's only famous because he was with the Jets, but it's a lot of exposure being a coach for the Jets.
Oh, it's
a lot of exposure.
I mean, if you're associated with any team, I think it gives you a decent amount of exposure.
It does when it's in New York, though. It's on another level.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's stupid how much scrutiny, how much attention they pay to you. Like if you walk in the wrong direction, if you jaywalk, there's a fucking article in the newspaper about it. Like if you're playing for fucking Arizona, if you're playing for fucking Dallas, like you're not hearing about it on the East Coast when somebody on the West Coast fucks up.
Yeah.
No.
Well, unless it's big, like with Tatis. Like when it's something.
No, but it would have to. I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean like something small?
Like what Glaber did yesterday made national news. If somebody on the Padres did that shit, we're not seeing it.
Gotcha. That's true.
Yeah, like let's put honestly, let's put Tatis. Let's swap him with Francisco Lindor. Lindor does that. It's a way bigger deal than if Tatis does it.
You know what? I'm gonna be. Dave's 100% right. Tatis did that. The majority of people in the baseball community, we know about it. If you're not a baseball fan, you have no fucking clue. But if he played for the Yankees or for the Mets, you heard about it.
The thing is, the part where it gets kind of weird is that Tatis is a way more well-known player than Lindor. But you would know so much more about it you don't even put Lindor in that situation. You could have, I don't even know, you could put Daniel Vogelbach in that situation. People would know about it.
Yeah.
The whole baseball community would know about it.
It's because we have 35 newspapers in New York.
Exactly.
We're the Mecca.
Yeah.
We're the Mecca. Honestly, everything revolves around New York, the time zone, the Eastern time zone. I feel like no matter where you live, that's the generic standard for time. Stock market, everything opens up at our time over here. And, it's just so much more, I guess,
integral.
Yeah, there you go.
Could you guys imagine watching football at 10 o'clock in the morning? Fuck that.
Oh,
well, think of it this way. The All-Star game was played where this year?
Cali.
Right? In Cali. What time did it start?
5 o'clock.
Cali time.
Yeah.
It started 8 o'clock Eastern.
Well, yeah, I was going based on what time.
Everything starts prime time Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. 8 o'clock.
Now, granted, we have more people. The more people live on the East Coast than live on the West Coast. But it's just not a coincidence. It really isn't. There's no reason people can't move across the country.
Should pick up on that and just start their games at 7:30. Well,
they kind of do. Ranger games start at 7.
Yeah, no, I meant to put that. I meant to say they should start their games at 4:30 so we can watch it at a normal fucking time.
Oh yeah, that's not that. They don't do that with baseball either. They fucking start the games at 10 o'clock at fucking night, and I got to stay up till 1 a.m. watching baseball.
And we still do it. We still show up.
I don't. I gave up. I'm old. I'm 35 now. Fuck that shit.
There's
money to be made.
I know. Even right now, this is late for me. 11 o'clock. I'm ready to.
Yeah, I hear you.
Pack it in,
and with that, I think we covered everything except for hockey. Hockey starts in what? How many days, Dave?
I think we got Braden Schneider left. 45.
Yeah. That being said, one hockey highlight: Sebastian Aho from the Islanders was arrested for drinking while under the influence in Finland. So, in Sweden.
Driving while under the influence.
Yeah, so it was a .02, which is against the law in Sweden.
.02, isn't that pretty high?
No, .08 is the legal limit in America.
I was thinking. I thought it was.
He wasn't even trying hard enough.
.2 would have been through the roof.
No, yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yes, .2 would have been over double the legal limit. He blew a .02 and was arrested in Sweden.
Jeez.
Or Finland. I forget which one is which. One of the Sebastian Ahos that plays in the NHL plays for the Islanders, and he was arrested. And I didn't talk about it last week because I wasn't on. I was out sick with COVID last week. But Jacob Trouba is the captain of the New York Rangers, and Kakko signed his contract with the Rangers. I believe it was 2 years, one way.
Both very good news.
Yep. But unless you guys have anything else to bring up before we depart.
No, I think we covered everything.
Right.
I had a great time.
I did as well. I love seeing Dave. Dave always makes me happy. Matt, it's always a pleasure doing business with you. Guys, tell us where we can find you.
My Twitter name is at 3periodbourbon, and just follow me for. It's summertime right now, so mainly I'm just drinking beer and smoking meat, and I'm tweeting about the Rangers still. So if you like drinking beer, smoking meat, and the New York Rangers, follow me.
Hey guys, it's Matt, Wrestling Addicts. You could find me at Wrestling, RASSLIN Addicts. And being that it is the summer, you could also find me drinking and smoking.
Yes, sir.
Not the meat, though. Hey! Nick's never going to have me back.
Ooh, I'm still perplexed about the whole smoking meat thing. That's pause. As the kids
it's
say.
barbecue season.
Oh, you didn't say that. You said you were smoking meat. All right, it got weird for a second.
Well, I meant smoking pork and beef.
Well, if anyone else is,
I don't make it better, David.
I just realized that sounded way worse.
If anyone else is questioning what type of meat Dave is smoking, you can check his Twitter, because when I was on it earlier, I was scrolling through, I was looking, and it was making me hungry. So your smoked meat looks really good.
Doing my first barbecue competition in November.
Ooh, that's
well,
awesome.
good luck with that on your barbecue competition.
Absolutely.
But from all of us here at the Scoreboard Addicts podcast, one last shout out to Miss Olivia on her birth, being brought into the world. TJ, have a great time down there in South Kakalaki. We'll catch you again next week. This is Nick with the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. Catch us on Twitter at Score Addicts Pod and Spotify, Apple Pods, Google Pods, Audible, wherever you can find us. And we'll catch you again next week. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Take care.
Stay rock. Stay rock.